Savage Unfiltered presents My Story, Where Silence Ends. Healing Begins.
Welcome to the very first episode, the segment of My Story, where I will be going through a few questions that I have received for this episode, and is pertaining to me and my background. So it's divided into four main focus areas. The first one would be discussing childhood and the environment I grew up, and the second one would be family, culture, and mental health, and the third one would be growth, healing, and self-expression. The fourth one would be parenting and legacy, and the last one would be the purpose of this podcast. So we would, without wasting any further time, let's get into it. Environment, being a hamne fofula yero. Mangi yero, this place called Latrikunda. So Latrikunda bini neko the Latrikunda benen bi bu tawakota bi, but this is the Latrikunda bu. I think there's some iconic history around that place. Let me think for a minute. Big Three. So Big Three, this Latrikunda is close to, I think, Afisel or something, but along those areas. So Fofula basically spent most of my halea until I think I was age 12. I might be wrong, but Modern Guinea, it was like Modern Guinea Latrikunda was like a long time, and I was younger then. So for Flanikon, most of my that's where I begin my childhood, basically. So what type of family structure Lajoge? Well, I am from a Muslim conservative family background. So the sort of family being a hamne, heavy on religion and very conservative. So when I said conservative, maybe lulu dafa nekalinga hamne maybe lu esla si newbury sin digging, but come like I'm within cultural, like normal families as Gambia, come newbury for some family in Jage, but addition with the DNB as well. So so that makes it very kind of like conservative. Now, okay, like this young scared me, like, Jamal and them doesn't matter, si suba, si goody, si bechik. All the daily prayers, si masjid bilang koredef. Now, the lulu, the some sort of impact. Well, I mean, we might get that. We might get there later, but it does have some impact. And I mean, don't quote me wrong, but I'm a very religion mom. So today, especially in our culture, that they just nini understand for wahe. But I'm not necessarily saying praying is bad or religion is bad. But there is significantly other delays in Hame coupled with the daily schedule of a normal child. And if you have to start participating at the masjid at that young, it's just you lack other things, which we would get into later. But so the second question is, yes, I mentioned that I grew up in a conservative Muslim home. How did that environment shape my early identity? Well, I mean, so growing up in such conservative structure is you don't usually have much control over what shapes your identity, because you're constantly either at the masjid or you're constantly at home. So all right, I'm not going to say living like or speaking like completely, but I've spent my fair share at home, right? Without having the ability come like normal hale Gambia di daw fi gena fale duga fi gena fale xam nga ker to ker. I did not have that opportunity, and lolu dafa tax sa be um suma pool of friends dafa tuuti, right? So dafa tax dafa tuuti. I can't necessarily remember ne dama in Gambia dama like a childhood friend, complete childhood friend bu ma mun a wax ne kii suma xarit la woon depuis time xale. I don't think I've man am naa loolu, right? So those are the other impacts being a xam ne, growing up in such environment boom dee am si yow, right? And these are puzzle pieces yi nga xam ne is important si xale ak nooy yaroo, right? So coming back to lu ma doon wax earlier in terms of julli bi ak yooyu noonu, so da nga gis ne once again, waxuma ne julli dafa bon wala waxuma ne julli every time is bad. But look at it this way. We spend like a great time at school. Right? And you prepare for them school. So you spend 8 hours at school, right? If you spend that time at school, yang inyo nga aksi, palanga ang bedi pare, 5 jotna, right? So legi yo, in my case, my wara dem si jumabi. So, param daw japa dem si jumabi, right? So legi, by the time nga nyibisi, do yaga, like the wara dem juli timis. And then, so the guy gisne, yosa life, the time hale revolves around this schedule, like rigorous schedule being a hamne, got him Julie and them school or a new yonila. So that is the only kind of like structure that you have. So lolu mota man, I don't have hariting hamne munawahne, nisuma haritlen, depi time hale. So those are the impacts in a hamne lolu lala, this side tamid dejo, right? So which I mean, to be honest, having to be in that environment at that early age, there's positive impacts and I mean a bit of negative impact of not having a normal childhood, like normal childhood experience. Now, because the they tell a mac, right? So if you look at it, haleyinga hamere constantly si jumabi. No guy they halate, send halat, accent gis stuff, they're different. So then they tell a mac. So what I mean by that is, man, I have gained a lot of wisdom being around Maggie Pai all the time, right? So I'm able to learn a lot, comport myself, and most importantly, embrace my religious identity. So so those are like the positives on it, but at the same time, Tamit, like I said, you lack the opportunity to prunganeka hale, and you have those friends and those memories, which sometimes, like Mansuma Toge, unless nyinga hamne damalen ham from school, I can't necessarily say ne ki suma harit lawon tepi tami hale. And also maybe a change of location as well plays a part, not being hamne the same area for that length of time, Tamit maybe has contributed. But what is constant and what is this thing in my environment is the structure that was in place, and it was rigorous structure, So it's either school, masjid, dara, wala So Lola one, yeah, that is basically my childhood and the environment. Now, coming on to the next one, which is around family culture and mental health. Now, the first question on that says, how did the way your family was structured impact your mental health growing up? I mean, I've touched on that a little bit. Jim Nafalal Tuti. So this structure for sure. I mean, if you are from a cultural, strong conservative background and religious background, is like Keri Imam, Keri Ustaz. Now, there is basically the lack for you to explore and actually find yourself. Like I said, like they tailor back, right? So you have huge responsibility, huge expectations. So lulu no yep daf dee nekk si sa mbagay, right? How you act outside, no what a wahe, no what a defe, like your mannerism, all these things plays a part. And for me, neko nerek is the cultural piece, wala the religious piece, or like being conservative. Now looking at my family dynamic, like let's say my parents, my dad was law enforcement, so it's different, right? So adding those pieces together, law enforcement, like the religious belief, the cultural, and all that together, it creates kind of like what's the best way to describe it? Let's say a military a military environment, because I feel like since age 15 or so, I feel like I was already in the military, not in a bad way. I mean, I'm extremely proud of my family. They're exceptional. They will move the earth for me. However, in terms of mental health and the lack of um, um, the normal childhood can be a little bit Lingahamne was lacking a bit, and at no fault of theirs, but the environment more collagen, right? So if you have a parent that has a strong personality, it's kind of hard because the guy gets the pressure on you, and it might sometimes sound like self-imposed pressure, but society does have that pressure on you. Right? Can you imagine? Nga neka hale. So look at it this way. Nga neka hale, so gene, so the aknit mune, oh, Savage. Oh, wow. Do you moisa uncle, wala moisa papa and stuff like that. Oh, wow. Fantastic. Wow. Your mom sawajuri nilang mel. Like you wah a lot about sawajuri. So the gisne like that pressure that they tegu sakao, right? So now you're thinking like man damawara defli man filawara tahaw wala hamga. Suma jege yon, that there's gonna be consequences, right? Because legi yo yange jima protect neko sa boba kese, or yange jima protect sa turi family, right? So lolu mo nyo with the added pressure. Like they gisne sa jefin sibiti daga even nitsula neko di hall daga neka di buga make sure ne yange defling hamne mo warsiyo, right? Not sa boba kese, but to protect your family as well and their name. So family integrity feel they play a part, right? So man, if I would say and there's anything that have impacted my mental health, which I will delve into later. I will touch on a little bit more later. Would be this kind of structure, the conservative piece, religious piece, and like the societal expectation and the position in which my dad was. So and still is, right? So highly respected, family with strong dignital values. So the gisne that they jefe pur ngamuna talk, the defi and fasan defi, and even Billy is a numa magenisa. Luma munti def tamade make sure ne mange sorale the family name, sorale the family, to make sure ne man suma behavior or suma actions will not impact the welfare of my whole family. Yes. Coming from a culture where parents make all the decisions, how did that influence your sense of independence? Well, even Bumademe Bemak, Gina, like even right now, come to Makohe earlier, and because I'm trying to be fair, okay, I'm trying to be fair to my parents because they've given me a lot. What they have, like instilled in me, the values and the education and the guidance that I receive from them. So that being said, I feel like I'm obliged to make sure that I represent my family in a way where the world will continue to be proud. Even my family will be proud, either they're there or not, right? Sundigene, Savage, the family of deaf, be Savage moko def, wala. No, this is not Savage, right? So, Mota. Now that is Um, Sometimes you might categorize that as alma that much total independency system bopper, but that is the side effect of coming from such family. The family soneke domigur, right? Let's say, for instance, Adama Barrow Domambi. I use Adama Barrow because he's the current president. So Domambi there is some added pressure and expectation. You have la society expect ne domi Adama Barrow lola manifest, right? So that being said, I feel the same way. That is the pressure on Sisusiman. So the sense of independence sometimes can conflict with this added pressure. Now, moving to the next question, looking back, do you think your childhood lacked anything you needed emotionally or mentally? Well, I would say, okay, so man, I believe, and this is, from experience and education, nit or hale, balanga fully neka hale, there needs to be, or a person, an independent person, there needs to be pieces that needs to come together like a puzzle. So if one is missing, the day them num yaga yaga it cuts up with you, right? So the guy gets new body, then they late adulthood, so then they study and this realization. Nyene ni so de maybe I'm dumb, see la realization bini denyo because like they gis ne yo lo de muna offer sa domi like they gis ne yo daga lack lo nonu. So it start to conflict with your childhood. And this is where it drags you to memory lane and it opens up wounds. Now, for my case, if there's one thing I was lacking, I would say there was no strong emotional connection between me and my dad. And I get emotional when I talk about this piece because I just wish I could go back to that age and start to develop that relationship and start to work on that piece, that emotional piece. But like I said, law enforcement ain't easy because especially if you are in such a position, high ranker in law enforcement, it can be very hard because you're not only taking care of your family at home, but you're taking care of your men and women that are looking up to you. So I could see the pressure and the responsibility, added responsibility that he has to go through. However, I've mentioned earlier that I felt like I was in the military as well. And this feeling started since when I was younger because my mannerism mimics military structure. Now, this takes apart the emotional piece that needed to be there. There has been a lot of memories between me and my dad, and which I embrace. And whenever, they come into my head, I feel very proud that I am able to have those pieces. But at the same time, the guy Gisne, it could have been a lot more. It could have been better. I would have loved to develop more emotional connection and the relationship to strengthen that emotional piece a lot. Moving on to the next one, which is going to talk about growth, healing, and self-expression. Now, the first question says, what helped you finally start expressing yourself after years of holding things in? So I thought I became independent or start the feeling of being independent. I had to seek for therapy. I had to talk to people. I had to express, a lot of things that I was holding in, which brings me to this amazing quote that I made up myself, which says, "The pain we hide is the pain that haunts us. And the successes we share will or might inspire someone else to leave. Now, I came up with this through self-realization. Now, expressing and seeking help had immensely increased my my growth and my self-realization, and give me the ability for me to express myself a lot more. It was hard. Dafa metti one taking the first step pour nga mun a wax, because lii xam nga talk 20 years 30 years of your life or 50 years musuloo talk. Unfortunately, in African environment, we don't really, Gambia in particular, amuñ that family biir, and loolu dafa tax ba is hard pour nit ñi ñu dem toog di waxtaanee li nga xam ne loolu lañ nekk di go through. It gets painful, extremely painful pour nit ñi toog waxtaanee li nga xam ne moo leen nekk di sonal wala li nga xam ne loolu lañ nekk di xalaat. However, given the opportunity, I took the opportunity because I met a friend that was extremely helpful at the time, who had similar experience. So, but he ended up seeking for help, and when we met, at work, and we became friends, and knew watan be like lale little piece of like what might be in our heads, what will be bothering us and stuff like that. He kind of shared that, hey, I was going through the same thing, but I had to seek for help. I had to talk to people. I have to seek therapy. So Lolo significantly, man was an inspiration. And since then, I opened up. I talked. I seek healing, and I'm able to express myself a lot more. I'm able to even have a conversation with my family a lot more. The guy gets ne, some of the little details, the fatah be gacha moneka suma digante suma family. It's hard to have like regular normal conversation, but when it happens, it's awesome. It's good and it feels good, right? So lulu nonu through healing, lamuna and self growth, lamuna achieve those little details. Now, how did traveling and seeing other cultures change the way you view yourself and your story? Traveling, even see dine. The guy gets dine Islam, the first or the first traveling a lot, right? So, man, being exposed to the world and traveling, which I loved. I've been to numerous countries. I've been to a lot of places. The guy gets ne smart deme si deka. The first thing lu mare def, tumare buga neka in hotel environment, come touristy area, because I believe ne lolu do they gets the culture and the rooted kind of like cultural environment for each society. The guy them see local see, and you blend yourself in. And magisne, the conservative piece is lingahamne ninyi family bari around the world, they have similarity, especially cultured people from cultured background. Example like Indians, Filipinos, like in some aspect of Asia. The guy gives the nyom, send culture and expectation is similar to us as well. One day, I'm able to learn from theirs. I'm got the healing piece and the things that they value, the things that bring joy to them. Exposing myself to those environments has immensely improved my view of myself and my story and my view of the world as well. So, which inspired me to basically get into the field of work that I do, where I'm able to work with young people. They're under the age of under the age of 21. Constantly, every day suma joge wala ma am call, you know, ne hey dafa am nit ki nga xam ne mu ngi am distress wala mu ngi am métit yoo lañ soxla pour nga ñëw nga wax ak moom wala nga ñëw dimbale X Y and Z loolu makes me proud every day. Wala su ma demee chaque every morning ma eewu di dem, understand nga, di dem liggéey pour dimbale nit ki nga xam ne is in distress, man loolu brings me joy. And every time even suma sonné sa jóg pour dem liggéey daf ma dee inspire, you know, like suma xalaatee lu ma dee def daf dee tax ma gën a sawar pour dem liggéey. So lii lu ko waral mooy confronting, you know, luñ dee wax si angale confronting your demons and confronting your challenges more waral lii nii, you know, and allowing myself to heal more waral ma talk about this realization. And by the way, in that journey, man, dem na law school. This is where I have a bit of knowledge around law. With my struggles first, and this is Lee Mola one come like so joge see, you know, for some family, an African typical family, Gambian, whatever. The pressure being hamne more tegusakao. So first, when I first got to university, I was like, I kind of have to do something because the pedestal was like high up. Now, the guy gets, you know, like, kunek and you know, the gabuga either rausa wajur wala equivalent to sa wajur, because that is how sa wajur difficult. Because if you sa wajur minister la one, you dinga buga neka president, wala nga neka minister, understand? Wala nga neka from whatever number tanka high up, whatever. So man, in my case, I had pressure on me as well. Togna Bay. When I went to law school first, I was like, well, I gotta have to be a lawyer, man. For me, it was like I have to be a lawyer for my parents. Okay, my parents have to be proud of me. I have to be in there. So the guy, my understanding was that I wasn't going for a career that I might love, regardless of the fact that I'm really good at debating things and, you know, and in-depth knowledge of certain things. But to me, I wasn't doing it for myself. I was like, I have to be a lawyer for my parents. So the guy gives Nebuma Deme be venture into like law school. But then first semester, it was hella boring. I couldn't focus. I didn't like it. I mean, the environment also plays a part. It was in Victoria, so the guy gets name Fofunonu, I retire so there's not much fun. Okay, there's no party, there's no nightlife unless campus and studency. So I find it extremely boring. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have to go home to Vancouver. So then I after one semester I was like, goodbye, chalo, and ciao. Then I left and then came to Vancouver. So Maneka Fini, the Pirim Param party, yara, them back and forward, you know. And then I later realized, you know what? Maybe law enforcement. So I went into law enforcement. I wasn't enjoying it too. I was like, you know what? I did my part. I did my time. I might have to leave. You know. So then magena fufunono. Then sila talk and, you know, neka wura and deka be, which is good. Sometimes the ba nga feel useless duty. Especially so for who time hala, right? For bah, you feel like, okay, man, I am free. I'm doing whatever I want. Then I started traveling a lot. Them duga gain a party and did extremely a lot of stuff. But I was being safe as well, you know, with some considering that safety piece. You have to be safe, but it is crucially important because when they could cut up to you, you start hating yourself. That definitely, which many Gambians, including myself at the time, we didn't have that much experience. Because Gambian society, the people there is a lot of immense pressure being right? You know, expectation, yada. So you're focus. 20 years of your life. Yang definitely have sa wajuri low buga pour ñoom noonu lañ bëgg pour ñu gisee la so it's hard pour nga mën a enjoy sa boppa nga nekk yow li nga xam ne loolu nga foog ne loolu nga mën a nekk. So in my case, like for instance, my education involved madrasa and like both Arabic and English education. It was tough. It was tough having to blend that, and there's a lot of confusion because man, I felt like I was striving a lot more in the English piece of education, but I have to do the other one because my parents want me to do it, and I don't hate them for it. I'm not complaining, but it would have been I felt like focusing and exploring one end for me would have been immensely helpful at that time. Now, I'm grateful that, and Lola Mokode Wasa, even, I've mentioned that to them before. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to learn about my religion, regardless of the fact that I'm not a scholar, I'm not an imam or whatever. But that opportunity, Mamuna understand my religion better. I mean, it's something that I will embrace and be grateful for the rest of my life for sure. So we are on second to last area of our discussion is going to be parenting and legacy. Now, the first question says, will you raise your future kids the way you were raised? Why or why not? So the era is different. The time is different. It's not the same. Okay. The era I grew up is not longer the era we live in. I would have to raise my kids differently. For me, what I would give my kids would be, I would say, would be more than what I've received from my parents. Okay. Because I mean, that is basically every parent or every father's pride, right? Or mom, to have kids and your kids to raise other people and raising them, giving them more than what they've given you. In my case, I would extremely be involved with my kids emotionally and monetary and all those things. For me, I would say like the emotional piece was lacking. It's not that it wasn't there, but I would have liked more of that emotional interaction. Um, but I didn't have it. Now I will have to offer that to my kids. So I would definitely raise my kids differently. I would make sure that all the puzzle pieces are connected for sure, with the added values of the things that I've learned from my childhood and my parents. So and just use Lolo Nono and try to mix it with a modern way of living for sure. Now, that is the last question about me. And now the next thing would be talking about why I came up with this podcast and how important is this podcast to me and my story. Well, Savage Unfiltered, the reason I came up with that is that I'm raised differently and sometimes I might come up a little bit too cocky or a little bit too straightforward to many people, right? They hear me like they can imagine this coming out of my mouth. Now, how did that happen? If you have a dad I had, you feel like you can take on the world alone. So for me, this is where the self-esteem came from, and also my family valued honesty and straightforwardness. You speak straightly. You make sure that we make sure that we don't sugarcoat, and there's no fear in our interaction, right? So that being said, this is where I built up the courage of I'm speaking my mind and boldly talking about the things that I think about, right? The things in my head without having to be censored or be scared that Pate or Samba would be like would think of me this way or that way. So it's like, hey, you do you, so as long as you're safe. And this is the value I get from the way I was raised, and which enables me to be unfiltered. Now I'm giving you the opportunity to also embrace, because I know each and every one of you can be unfiltered. There's things that you are holding within yourself because you don't want to say it. Mariama would think about this way, Fatu will think that way, Samba will think this way, wala parit lila mo halat. So because of that, you cage yourself. I would quote Mamadou Sabali, don't allow society to cage you. They can't cage you. It's only you that can cage yourself. And this is your chance for you to free yourself by starting the conversation and opening up to the world. Be proud of your past and embrace the future. So this is why I came up with Savage Unfiltered, allowing others to talk and normalize talking and sharing. We need to change things in our society. This might be a struggle, it might be a challenge, but there's nothing Savage cannot take on. What will you say to someone out there feeling silence? Be courageous. Remember, the pain we hide is the pain that haunts us. The successes we share would or might inspire someone else to lead. This is Savage Unfiltered. The mic is yours, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of My Story on Savage Unfiltered, where silence ends and healing begins. If this moved you, inspired you, or made you feel seen, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Follow the podcast, subscribe wherever you're listening, and help us keep these stories alive. And if you've got a story of your own, raw, real, and unfiltered, we want to hear it. Slide into our DMs or send us a message through our website. Your voice matters. Until next time, stay real, stay raw, stay unfiltered.